had a few questions about our trailer setup that we use. As you can see, dual axle trailer. I bought it like this. It's not something that I've actually set up with the toolboxes and everything. They were already on it. I've just adapted it to how everything fit on it and worked. So we've got our Christie driver. Usually store our Christie driver there. I do have an industrial sewing machine, so I've been able to just make covers for everything just to keep it out of the weather a little bit. Cobwebs from sitting here over Christmas, but that's one of our most used tools, especially putting strainers and stays in. It's just an old steel post with a foot welded on it, so it's at the right height that we drive our steels. And then you can go along, and wherever your wires are going to be, you can mark the holes exact, and it allows you, like where your wires and your fence go to your strainer, your wires don't jump up or jump down, they sit in really neat. So that just has its little place in there. These are just 4-wheel drive shovel holders. Rubber shovel holders are like 40 bucks. Well, not even, they might have only been 15 bucks I think each, but they just clip in and rubber on, so it's quick just to open and close them. Water tank and soap down the bottom so you can wash your hands. And then we just keep all our fencing, like pliers, strainers, in these tubs. I'd like sometime probably to get some slide rails and have all this box slide out so that you can get at it while it's out. These, like we usually use our fencing belts for gripples, and all our pliers, always carry 3 types of pliers just for the different stripping of hinge joint, cutting, using pliers and all that sort of thing. And they just hang in there. Carry quick grips in the roof just in case you want to clamp. If we put our running strainers in and we weld a steel post, like if we've got our fence built, we belt a strainer in and then we're going to weld the steel post, you can just clamp your steel post tighter to your strainer. So they just go in the roof there, just out of the road. Probably would like to at some stage probably put another toolbox in the back of here for a little bit more storage. And also just when you're doing the bigger jobs, it's good to have a little bit of storage for boxes of gate gudgeons, gate latches, chain, all your stuff, just to keep it out of the weather. Boxes are like, when we turn up to some places, buckets of gripples. So at some stage I would like to probably put another big toolbox in there. So around the front here, like I said, these toolboxes are already on here. So top one's sort of fairly regularly grabbed stuff. We've got all our batteries lined up. They go to the flat end if they're ready to be taken home and charged. Keep a grinder, like an electric grinder, like a plug-in grinder, and a cut grinder. Drill, obviously. Carry all our, so cordless grinder if we need it. Carry spare MIG wire, grinding discs, and then all our spare spray paints, our silver gal and our marking paint. Carry a multi-tool for doing the underground cable in the poly pipe. We found that was the best way to cut it because you can trim the poly pipe while the underground cable is in the pipe without damaging the cable. And then we just carry one of these Stanley Fat Max boxes just with all your consumables, rivets, and we use a lot of these fencing clips. If you go around a corner and you want to fence around the corner, you can just screw the wires off with Tex. But just a general grab sort of kit. So we can sort of, screw on plastic insulators if we need to, or just any sort of little modification that you might need to do on the job. Carry inox in there for our air stapler. One of these has been a great thing, a little thing this year, just for holding all the bits. Step bit if you got to drill something, and just your drill bits, just so it keeps them contained. Use a little Stanley spirit level. You would have seen it in one of our videos putting strainers in. We use that for leveling our strainers up. We do have a big Spiro in the front there as well, just in case we want a bigger one. This side we keep our staples, all our air staples. Air stapler is in there, just wrapped in a rag just to look after it. That's another thing that we've probably never done a video on, but when we run our hinge joint, we actually go along and clip the hinge joint on with these fireman snaps. The only reason we've got the cable ties on them is that they stand out on the fence. You can find them and you can unclip them off the fence easily as you staple along. But that allows, when you like we strain in the middle of the hinge joint, it allows the hinge joint just to skate along like a big curtain. You clip your top of your hinge joint to your top plane and it just allows it to all slide in. So we carry those in there. Other one is just our main, when we're doing strainers and stays, gates, getting our lines and everything. We just got a bunch of texters and speed squares, just all your quick grab stuff. Carry tape measures, usually have a texter clip to it. That's amazing how much easier that makes it. You can just rip that off, mark your post, and you've got a texter constantly with you rather than feeling around your pockets or coming back to the trailer. And then obviously in the other videos you've seen our stay templates. They are also carried in here, and spare texters and just little odds and sods in there. So that's those two. Then these boxes underneath, just cut out a very simple frame. Obviously carry a spare charger in case we need to charge on the go, in case we use a heap of battery and need to charge off the generator, we can. Cut a little frame for the drop saw. We don't really use the drop saw much, but if you go somewhere where you need to be cutting strainers or whatever, cutting a lot of cattle rail, it's really handy just to have that drop saw, so it's in there all the time. And then also we carry a milk crate full of barb ties, pre-cut, just 3.15 soft tensile wire for barb ties, rather than turning up to a place and the cocky trying to supply you with high tensile barb ties. We supply our own, so we know what we get. And then a box full of just offcuts of different pieces of timber. These are what we use to get our stays the right height. You can see they've had guts burn out of them. We use these also for chocking up any gates, so we've got all different size blocks of wood, just a mixed box of timber, so that we can just jack gates one side or the other and get everything really Mickey Mouse. So that cupboard works pretty good for that. All these toolboxes lock, and we've got a lock for the trailer in case we need to lock it up as we go. This is something very new. The start of this year when we bought this trailer, I like to look after my gear. So I had this locker and I wanted to make the most of the room. Because it's being narrow, it's a little bit difficult to make the most of it. So we've actually put the welder in here on slides. I'll show you that in a sec. Carry all our magnets there for welding cattle rail. If you have a look at one of our other videos, if you have subscribed, you would have seen on our channel how to notch the cattle rail and get it perfect every time. We sit the cattle rail down onto magnets. So we've got a bunch of magnets, and then so we've just got two locks up the top here. The welder slides out and it'll come out, I think it's about 1.5 from the trailer, so a long way. We've got it on the driver's side of the trailer, so that when it's hooked to the ute, you know how close you can get your ute to the job. You can park as close as you can. And then just more recently, I've just bought 5 meter leads. So this, the gun on this is 5 meters. So we go 1.5 out, and then we can go 5 meters either way. So you can easily weld your strainer and your stays, your gates, and then even when your gate's on, even if it's a 14-foot gate, you can still weld your latch on without moving. So makes it very versatile. Chucked a magnet earth on there a few months ago, just so you can just chuck it onto whatever you're welding, and the magnet holds the earth onto your work, and it's easy to move. So that's been really good. Little welding hood recently bought, like summertime when you're welding and you don't have a hat on but you got your welding helmet on. The top of your head gets burnt, your ears get burnt, whereas this actually covers your ears, stops those dirty sparks from getting in your ears and having a crack on the pot. So that works really well. You can still get it, this is only just strapped on here with a ratchet strap. You can still change your wire without pulling the welder out, but then the welder's 2 minutes to take out if you need to move it further. But we really rarely take it out of there because of the leads and the length that we've got. Works great. And so that just works really good and simple for us. Just slides all the way in, locks in. It's very quick to set up. One thing I've been really happy with that about is you pull it out, the lead reaches straight to your welder. It takes like 2 minutes just to weld something up if you do need to. And then just a box of our, welding helmets, gloves, a few bits of angle on there for sticking up the side of pipe to join pipe together. The best way to join two pieces of pipe together is with angle on, because it touches 3 points of your pipe. You can weld two pieces of pipe together almost perfect. And again with the canvas covers, you can see I've got the sewing machine, so this side does drop down, and I don't normally drop it down to use any of this, but I will for the sake of the video. So we've just got a strap there that keeps this on the generator, and so it's just a matter of throwing that off, and we've got the generator there. Just before we get to that too, we've got our post puller and just a concrete shovel there in case we need them. So Jenny, 8 kVA, it runs that welder. I've had a few people ask me what size Jenny I run just to run the welder. It's only 8 kVA. That welder is a 200 amp. It's a Razor 200 from Unimig. I've had 2 Unimigs now, can't kill them. My old one was just a transmig and a mate's got it still running. This inverter MIG, this generator runs it no problem, and you can also run a grinder at the same time, no trouble. Seeing as we have the Jenny, and we work up here in the New England, so cold country, it's nice to have warm lunch through winter time. So again, canvas cover, and I built this timber box, and we have our microwave. Just chuck the glass plate in a sewn up bag there so it doesn't rattle and vibrate around. Lunchtime, when you want to heat up a bit of something, you can just chuck it in the microwave and heat it up. Nothing like having a nice warm lunch in the middle of winter. Makes those long hard days a little bit nicer, a little bit extravagant, but that's okay. $80 microwave, it's really not much. To run our air stapler, for stapling off hinge joint netting, we just have a small little compressor there. It runs that staple gun no problem. You can basically staple flat out, and that thing just keeps up no problem. Obviously just electric. We've got the generator there. It's just as easy to plug it in. It's a cheap little thing rather than having another petrol engine. And again, undercover, our reel there just plugs straight in, and then we've got, I don't know what that is, about 20 or 30 meters of hose. And so when we're done, we just drive this, we hook this trailer up, drive it along the fence line, staple off. We can weld our running strainers as we go, and yeah, that works pretty well. So that's the trailer of these covers. These covers don't blow off. We tow it at 100 k's an hour, sits in wind and weather, and seems to look after everything pretty good. We did have a dirty big rat underneath one of these the other day. It was a bit of a surprise way out in the paddock. But other than that, the covers work well. Probably the only thing I would change on this side is that this is fairly jammed in, so the covers don't slide on and off as easy. So while it's home this Christmas, I've got a few little jobs just to do, just probably just space them out a little bit, maybe move the Jenny forward a little bit and just get a bit of room between them. What I do if I put a toolbox on, I don't know, but work that out as we go. So this one, we just keep our extension leads and fuel jugs. Again, just narrow sort of funny storage, so we've just made the most of that. Hang our leads up, and also one of these, this was just a Bunnings special one, just a 15 amp lead, but that just runs out and you can plug your grinder in. That's been really quite handy, just to be able to roll it up rather than having to roll leads up and drag them in and out of there all the time. And then in the bottom one, just again odds and sods, few different air tools. Because we've got the compressor, we may as well have air tools, a spare chain. We keep our wire brushes and our silver gal that we're using at the time in this here, because it's just close to where your welder and your grinder is. It's easy to grab. Around the back here was always, this spare tyre was always here, and so to make the most of that room, got our fire extinguisher. That's actually one of the water refillable ones. One of the best things I bought. You just bring it home, you measure out 9 litres goes into it, or it does have a tube that spits out once it's full enough, and then you just put it on the big compressor in the shed, pump it back up, and that, even if it's not that bad, you're not worried about actually putting fires out, but you are getting little sparks hitting the ground and burning. We just hose underneath the strainer before we weld. That thing, you can just use it almost like pressurized water. Just bring it home, refill it that night. Petrol for the generator, for the Christie driver. Makes use of that good little dead space there without affecting the tray. Another tall locker. One of the best bits of kit we bought probably this last 12 months has been this bandsaw. A mate bought one down the Southern Highlands. He bought the 40 amp hour one. I don't have 40 amp hour batteries. I didn't want to go to a whole new battery system. Like, that's just a pest. Once you get one lot of batteries, you may as well stick with them. But I've been really impressed with this. This is only the 18 volt one, but for cutting the tops off strainers, docking strainers, for cutting steel posts for tie down pegs, this thing is just awesome. You would never go back to a grinder. If someone's buying lengths of pipe and you're putting bigger strainers in, I wish we had it at the start of the year when we built that set of holding yards off those cattle yards, because that was all lengths of pipe. This thing just eats through it for a little thing. Fantastic. Have our trundle wheel there just for measuring our fences when we're done. They just both go in the same cupboard. And another good thing about this, that they come standard with that hook, and it actually fits the side rails on your tray, or it'll also clip onto the toolbox on my ute. So it hangs, it's never fallen off, like it's really sturdy. So yeah, really good bit of kit, that thing. This side has a drawer, so we just keep spare pliers, cutters, few spare cut of our templates ready to shape if we need to on the go if we break one. Just a few odds and sods spares, a spare pouch, some spare cutters, just spares in case. Which out in the paddock on a farm, you know, you've got to have. Then we went to just some more of those shovel holders to hold our crowbar, which I avoid using like the plague, and the same with the shovel. That's why you have a bobcat. But just in case you need a shovel, you know, it's amazing how often you use those, just for little bits and pieces. And then just a set of dirty old sawhorses on the back. We use them for when we're setting up doing our cattle rail work, and you want to sit your cattle rail and notching. It's just easier for the bloke who's notching to be up off the ground. So they're strapped on there. And then this is something that we built this year that I'll probably build another set of, but this was just offcuts of some stay pipes that we had to trim off, welded up into frames to make A-frames, and we use these on our really long strains. We've been fencing like really good long runs where we can, pushing them out to sort of 500 meters, and if you build this as an A-frame in the middle of your line, which is just 5 steel posts, which we've always got plenty of steel posts, and it becomes an A-frame, and your fence comes up to the middle and up to your next strainer, and 500 meters you can just about get it off the ground, get a really good straight line between your strainers and where it sits on this frame, and then also between the frame and your strainers. It's very quick to get straight. Just use a scope like we have in the front, and those 500 meter strains have been making this fence a lot faster. And then we just go through at the end right before we staple the fence off, and we hit a strainer in it like every 150 and weld that to a steel post. So that's made our fencing really quick. And these things, I've been amazed how quick it's got our siding of our lines. And like I said, I might even make another set for this coming year, so that on those big long strains, say 500 meters, if you've got a bit of a hump or a hill or a dip, you can set a second set up, and you just your lining from your strainer to the top of your A-frame, to the top of your A-frame to your strainer, and you're away fencing very quickly. So that works really well. So I hope you enjoyed that tour. We'll probably do another video on some of the individual stuff as we're working when we're back on the job. We do a few months of spraying now, and then once we're back into fencing, we'll do a few more vids. But anyway, I hope that was good. You enjoyed that tour. Thanks.